Yo, what's up viewers, it's your boy Blaze Hollow coming at you again with another what if. This time I bring you what if Deku ate the hormone fruit part 9. But before we get into all that, I gotta give some shout outs to my boy Kirisho, who's been giving me some ideas to do behind the scenes. So please go check him out, he's been a major help, his channel is amazing. But with all that said, let's start this video and get into it. Start that intro.
I don't think you can become a hero.
Deku saw that he was the only one in the room with the principal. So I have two things that might be happening to me. Either my punishment is more than what I expected, or there's something that you need from my skills. So tell me, which one is it? Nezu was surprised. Oh, you saw right through me really quickly. To answer your question, it's technically both, but how you handle the situation will determine how your punishment will increase or decrease. Izuku looked around the room for a second and saw a wooden chair, went over and picked it up as he sat it down right in front of the desk as he sat down in it. Alright then, let's talk business. Over the few years that I've been with my new father and auntie, and especially my Uncle Mike, they told me that you gotta talk business before you can talk casually. Nezu was enjoying this mental mind game, seeing that this child is not simple-minded but actually tactitious. Well, I'll lay it out for you clear as crystal. You could either be suspended for 2 weeks, which would put you behind your studies and training, or you could be suspended for 2 days and do me a favor. Izuku was definitely intrigued. It all depends. What is the favor? Nezu put both of his hands together, almost looking like he was praying for a second. I need a friend to be healed, but I believe your abilities are the only way that it can get done properly. Izuku blinked his eyes. This friend of yours wouldn't happen to be friends with Recovery Girl as well, would they? Nezu wasn't expecting that, so he decided to feed his curiosity and play along. He would be, but why does that matter? Izuku noticed that Nezu said he, which means that the patient is a male. And am I to assume that this person is very important to one of the greatest doctors that they can't even fix him? While having the principal of the most important school grasping at straws for answer, am I right on both of these assumptions? Nezu looked worried on the outside, but on the inside he was having a blast, seeing that this was not just going to be a one-sided conversation, but an actual battle of wit. That would be correct. This person is very important to the both of us, and maybe more. Izuku leaned back in his chair as he rolled up his sleeve and injected female hormones into his system, changing him back into a she. Sorry if transforming like that right in front of you is a little bit weird, but I feel uncomfortable in my male form. Brings back a lot of painful memories. Nezu raised an eyebrow, noticing that Izuku wasn't having trouble sitting there a second ago, but decided to show this out of nowhere change right in front of him, almost like she was trying to show off her abilities to get more out of this deal. It's no problem. I would like for people to feel comfortable when they're talking with me, making sure to keep eye contact with Izuku. So, which will it be, a week of suspension or 2 days plus a favor? Izuku smirked in her seat. Well, let me correct you on something that you said earlier. You said that if I lose a week of school that I would fall behind, right? Well, you're wrong. 3 of the teachers at this school are my legal guardians and can just give me the assignments at home, along with the lesson plans probably being shorter. For my combat skills, I think I'm already ahead of most. I could be wrong, but I'm just assuming right now. But on the other hand, you're trying to give me an offer that will help me. 2 days is not too bad, plus doing a favor for you probably puts me in good graces with you, along with the person that I'm helping, which means that there might be a secret reward at the end of all of this. Nezu was actually surprised by seeing how tactical and sensible Izuku was being with this entire situation. You are right, there is a chance at a hidden reward. I won't lie to you because doing so could cause a lot more issues. However, the principal then got very serious, giving off an aura of intimidation, believing that I can't tell my staff not to give away any lesson plans to students who are suspended is ridiculous. I do agree with you, your combat potential is a lot higher than your entire class, except for maybe your 2 friends. But your academic wise, it just takes 1 week to fall behind everybody everybody else. Izuku started to sweat a little bit, realizing how much authority the principal has, but can also see something in Nezu's tone that shows that he's really desperate. Can I assume that the person that you want me to save is All Might? Nezu flinched hard as he fell back into his chair. I have to say that is the most shocking thing you could have said all day, so what gave it away? Izuku was now actually really concerned, knowing that the symbol of peace was in medical trouble, knowing that she has to do something. Well, a lot of things gave it away. First off, I've been in a similar situation like this with Recovery Girl. She was very kind to me and was trying to help me become a proper doctor, so I made a promise to her that one day I would fix her very injured and sick friend. Now you're basically putting me in the same situation, but instead of being kind, you're trying to make me an offer I can't refuse. But neither of these things gave it away. Nezu hung his head, trying to stay calm as he reached for his teacup and took a few sips of tea. Then please tell me, what brought you to this conclusion? Izuku leaned onto the desk, looking deeply into Nezu's eyes, almost like they're making a spiritual connection between the two of them. It was the man himself. All Might always seemed like he was in a rush, especially after today's incident, which he brought us straight here hoping to make everything your problem, so he could leave, but when that wasn't the case, he was fidgeting in his chair, plus every once in a while he would put his hand over his left side, almost like he was in pain, or he was just covering an injury, so am I right? Nezu sat there for a few seconds, not saying anything as he quietly started to laugh, and then it got louder, but this wasn't a laugh of madness or sorrow, it was true enjoyment. You truly do have an academic mind. I'm sure that you got a lot of this from Eraserhead teaching you to read between the lines and along with watching people's body language. The laughter finally came to a stop after Nezu took a few deep breaths. All Might has a major injury on his left side from a battle that I cannot get into with right now, but this school along with society would be very grateful to you if you could fix him. So please do the surgery that even Japan's greatest medic couldn't do and become a hero that the entire world would be grateful for. Izuku sat up straight in her chair. She put her hand to her chin, thinking it over, knowing that this was a high risk, high reward out of this. I'll do it, but instead I want to negotiate some terms with you. Nezu tilted his head. I truly do not think that you're in a position to negotiate with me. Izuku lightly giggled to herself. You see, that's where you're wrong. You need me to do an impossible surgery that could risk the symbol of peace's life, and if I don't do it properly, he could die. All of Japan's safety nets that he's created will be crumbling at that moment, and it will be all my fault, and the entire world will look at me as the person who killed the symbol of peace. She then looked up towards the ceiling, almost like she was trying to look right beyond it. All I ask is 3 requests. If you do these things, I will do everything within my power to make sure that the symbol of peace is as strong before the incident ever happened to him. Nezu felt like there was finally hope, but there was also despair, wondering what these requests could be. I want to hear your terms before I agree to anything, because the way you're talking right now, you're making it seem like I'm making a deal with the devil. Izuku brought her head back down to stare directly in the principal's eyes. Well, you see, some people call me a miracle worker. Others say that I'm a surgeon that leads people to death. It will all depend on what happens here. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a piece of paper along with a pen as she wrote a few things down on the paper and then scooted it over to Nezu. These are my terms. You're free to read them out loud or to yourself. If you agree to them, I'll do as you request. Nezu looked down at the paper as he picked it up and read it for a few seconds as his eyes went wide. You can't be serious. Some of these requests are unquestionable. I can't allow you to do whatever you please with Bakugo along with sweeping this entire incident under the rug. But most of all, you're trying to get me to shut down the middle school that wronged you? Izuku started to leak out her own killer intent. I know that you can allow at least 2 of those things to happen real easy, and you're probably going to get that school shut down anyway. I'm just giving you incentive to do it. As for Bakugo, I don't plan to do any more lethal damage. I just want to help rehabilitate him in my own way. And I'll even make an agreement with you. If you start to believe that my methods are going going too far and I can't justify them to you anymore. You can make me stop at any moment. How's that sound? Nezu was in deep thought, thinking about risking a student's life for exchange for All Might getting the treatment that he needs, while also erasing everything that happened today off the record. Yes, she is right. It could be easily done, just not legally. As for the school, he already had enough documentation to have it shut down and restarted without an issue. He then let out a deep breath as he was praying to the gods above to forgive him. I agree to your terms. From today onward, you'll be suspended for 2 days. You'll be expected to do the surgery tomorrow with assistance from Recovery Girl. And I will have your request done and taken care of as soon as possible. Izuku stood up as she had the biggest smile on her face that was made of pure innocence. Well then, I'll see you tomorrow, Principal. It's going to be so much fun turning a tyrant into a peaceful hero and making a legend young all over again. Nezu watched Izuku leave his office, hoping that he made the right choice as the school bell rang as everybody was going home. Mina, Shinso, Izuku were walking home together, seeing that their parents wanted to process things and handle it when they get home, giving the three of them just a few minutes of paradise before they were going to be punished. Mina skipped in front of the both of them while she finally asked the question. So, what did you and the principal talk about? Izuku giggled. Well, both of us made a deal. I can't explain it to you at the moment, but just know that I'm suspended for 2 days and I'll have to go somewhere tomorrow. And so had his shoulders drop in annoyance as he was kinda covering his ears for a few seconds, just imagining how much of a lecture he was going to get from his mother and father. Don't forget that we have detention. We don't know how long we're truly going to be in there. It could be at least a week, a month, or even the whole semester. But maybe with good behavior it will drop. I only could wish that my parents don't hold this over my head for too long. Mina deflated, realizing that she also has to go home to her angry parents. Yeah, it's going to be such a drag. Izuku shook her head. If you think your parents are going to be bad, remember I have to go home to mine. The three of them were originally supposed to be a part of all this, but the three of us decided to go rogue. That's not going to go over well. And so nodded his head. Yeah, if anything, you probably have the worst out of all of us. The three of them actually knew that there was a possibility you could have been expelled today. Ina puts her hands on her hip. Let's be honest, if any of us would have been paired up against him, we would have done the exact same thing, except instead of just stopping at his balls, I would have just crushed a few ribs of his. Shinso thought about it himself, realizing that he was going to do an entire torture session with Bakugo if he was given the chance. I guess I can agree with you there. Izuku grabs onto the both of them and just gives them a tight hug. Can we please stop talking about that now? Besides, we're at the three-way split, so we're going to have to go different ways to get home from here. Good luck, and make sure to bring me your notes from the next 2 days if you're allowed to. Ina shrugged her shoulders as she just started to walk away. I'll do my best, but you know that I don't take good notes. And so leaned on the stop sign, almost like he wanted to take forever to get home. I'll make sure to pass you my notes as soon as possible. Izuku smiled as she started to walk the rest of the way home, turning back to wave at Shinso. Thank you very much. Try not to be moping at school while I'm not there. When Izuku finally got home and was about to unlock the door, she felt like the handle started to move, and before she even knew it, the door swung open, and 3 arms grabbed her, pulling her inside and closing the door behind them. She was scared for a second until she realized it was Eraserhead, Midnight, and Mike, who didn't seem to be happy with what they had to deal with today. Mike glared down at Izuku, keeping his eyes hidden behind his shades. Young lady, I hope you realize what we had to deal with. Eraserhead dragged Izuku and sat her down on the couch as he stood right in front of her. Once the 3 of you were done with school, we were called back to Nezu's office. Midnight then stood behind the couch, putting both her hands on Izuku's shoulders, squeezing them a little bit. And you won't believe what he said to us. Izuku started to go pale, thinking that her parents were going to be sympathetic about the situation, only for it to seem to be backfiring. I don't know. What did he tell you? She was sweating bullets, scared. First she felt like she was on top of the world after defeating Bakugo, then shaken a little bit by the principal, but then overcoming it. But now she felt like a small child all over again, surrounded by the 3 of them. Please tell me, what did you discuss? Midnight leaned forward on the couch, making sure that her eyes were seen as she just had a big smile on her face. That you gave him one of the greatest thrills in his life. Izuku looked dumbstruck as her shoulders started to relax, but she still found it hard to breathe a little bit. What do you mean by that? Mike started laughing like crazy, finding it hard to control himself. What we were told is that you were able to fix a problem that we've had for a while, but also made it very entertaining, showing that the work that we put in didn't go to waste. Eraserhead still had his arm folded with a serious look on his face. Even though the others are amused by your actions, I am actually very annoyed with you going against our plan. We had the proper documents to bring this out without any issues, but you decided to take matters into your own hands. Do you know how dangerous that is? Izuku winced a little bit. I know, but I just wanted to make him understand what it feels like. Eraserhead shook his head disappointed, but you doing that makes you no better than him at that moment. What you believe to be justice is just revenge, and that usually leads down a very dark road. Izuku sprung onto her feet, which knocked her aunt a little bit backwards from behind and startled Mike as she was staring down Eraserhead. And how would you even know if this was vengeance? I got my victory, it's over, and all I have left to do is to try to rehabilitate him. I made a deal with the principal, which I'm pretty sure he brought to your attention as well. Eraserhead glared, not flinching for even a second. Do you truly consider this victory? Everything was by the skin of your teeth. If parents were a lot more bloodthirsty, if Nezu didn't care for the documents that I handed him, there are so many things that could have gone wrong because of you rushing everything, because you overreacted, because you wanted to make this personal. Midnight got in between the both of them and tried to get them to split apart, but would notice that neither would budge an inch. Both of you need to stop before you say something you can't take back. Mike walked over and tried to separate them, but even with the both of them working together, neither wanted to budge. Come on, we can at least try to be a little bit more reasonable about this. She's still going to be grounded, isn't that enough? Eraserhead activated his quirk as his hair started to levitate, giving him even more intimidation. No, it isn't. The fact that she risked her life today in a fight shows how blind she is. If Izuku would have been off even by a second, she would have been dead today. I looked over the video footage. He clenched his fist just thinking about his adopted daughter being dead just because of her naivety. Just by being off by 1 inch and setting off those explosives in the wrong direction could have been the end of you, or caused the entire building to go down on top of you. There are so many things that could have gone wrong today. Izuku had tears in her eyes, starting to think that her adoptive father doesn't have faith in her after all the training and all the planning that they've done together. Do you really think that I'm that weak, or is it that you just don't think I could have handled it myself? She had tears going down her cheeks, some of sorrow, some of rage, but she then noticed that her father had tears going down his cheeks too, and the spirit that was coming off of his eyes was one of concern and fright. Why are you crying? Eraserhead gently smacked away the hands that were trying to keep them separated as he grabbed onto Izuku and put her into a tight hug. I'm just afraid of losing someone else. I know being a hero we put our lives on the line every day, or when you're in school trying to learn something doesn't mean that you can fly off the handle. That's how somebody gets killed. I'm not saying this because I don't believe in you. It's because I've seen this happen before, and I don't want to repeat, so please understand, don't keep on doing things with such high risk. Izuku calmed down a little bit, starting to realize that her father figure has gone through some stuff and he's just trying to give her proper guidance before it's too late. I'm sorry, I'll try to think about it more in the future. Eraserhead finally started to relax, seeing that he at least got through to her a little bit. Good, I'm glad that you understand. You'll be grounded for the next 2 days and under the supervision of your auntie, who will be taking off work to make sure that you don't try to do anything behind our backs. I expect you to have this house clean from top to bottom each day while also making sure to keep up with your proper training regimen that we've been having you do. Is that understood? Izuku wanted to cry just thinking about all those extra chores that she's going to have to do alongside her rigorous training. Yes, Dad. Razor her head faltered for a second when he was called Dad as he deactivated his quirk and his hair went back down along with his scarf covering the lower part of his face. I'm glad you understand there will also be no TV, no cell phones, and your friends will only be allowed to come over if they're dropping off homework. That's it. Midnight saw that her niece had a dark cloud of despair over her head, seeing how Izuku is going to be busy for the next 2 days. Don't worry, with all the chores and special assignments that you've been given, I'm sure the time will pass by like nothing. Izuku then had a thought go through her head. I never got to find out, but what was Bakugo's medical state like? Mike got shivers going down his spine as he remembered that he accidentally walked in during the surgery as they were closing up the wound. According to Recovery Girl, you definitely destroyed every bit of his family jewels along with his special pole, so he can no longer call himself a man. Izuku got a big smile on her face, feeling like she did something great today. Well, at least it wasn't a total failure. She raised her head, smacked her on the back of the head, leaving a light bump on it. That's not the attitude of a hero. Now go to your room and write me a 5-page essay on hero ethics along with your homework. Izuku had a river of tears going down her face as she just went up to her room before she made the situation even worse. This isn't fair. 3 of them just waited as they heard the door slam as they all sat down in the living room. Eraserhead still had the lower part of his face covered because he still had a big smile on his face from Izuku calling him Dad, which Midnight noticed. For someone who's supposed to be mad, you seem to be in a good mood. Is it because Izuku keeps on calling you Dad every time she gets a chance? Mike started to laugh as he leaned back onto the couch. That shoulda for you, the man who acts like he doesn't want to help children, yet he's a teacher and he tries to be a really, really good father. Eraserhead groaned, knowing that the 2 of them will not let it go. And the both of you shut up. I can't enjoy anything with the both of you around because you start to turn it into some kind of teasing show. Midnight smiled. Well, maybe if you didn't act so sour all the time, the both of us wouldn't try so hard to make you relax. And besides, she started to get a little bit more serious. Do you really think she'll be able to fix him tomorrow? He raised her head but both of his elbows onto his knees as he had his hands underneath his chin and thought, it's possible. It's going to be very challenging, but I do believe it's possible, especially with Recovery Girl being there to assist her. Mike was starting to get stressed out as he ran into the kitchen real quick and grabbed a bag of chips as he ran back and started munching on them. Talking about all this serious stuff is starting to stress me out. Hopefully these chips will help me feel better. Eraserhead thought of the only thing that he can do in a situation like this and yelled out, Izuku, I want you to give me a 10-page essay on surgical theory along with hormone gene therapy. Izuku whined out in sorrow. That's too much homework. But that's where I'm going to leave it out this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like and comment down below. But with all that said, I'm out. Peace.